Okay, so since I can't be with you live in class and talk about outlines, I wanted to just make a quick video to talk about the outline example that I posted for you guys, because I wanted you to see what an outline should look like, because otherwise if you fill it out and you don't fill it out right, it's not really going to help you complete your CER. Okay, so I chose to answer the same question that you guys answered in class yesterday. However, I chose the answer as Mesopotamia, so that's not an option for you guys. But I wanted you to kind of be on the same page as me, so I didn't want to use like an old CER. Okay, so I answered the same question: which civilization had the greatest influence on our modern society? But I picked Mesopotamia. Okay. So if you remember from yesterday, I told you that your outline is color-coded, and it is the same color coding that I did when I showed you my sample CER during Unit 1, and a lot of you actually chose to color code your own CER, which was, I think, a genius idea, because it helped you to make sure that you had all of the parts that you needed, and it was very easy for me to grade. I think every single person who color coded their CER got like 100% because they actually had everything that they were supposed to have. Okay, so I color coded your outline in the same way that you could possibly color code your CER later. Your job today is to use the notes that we collected in class, which would be above your outline, so yours are connected on the same page, and fill out your outline. So I asked you at the end of class to pick which side you wanted to go on. Did you want India or did you want China? Remember, there is no wrong answer. You just need to pick a side and make sure that you thoroughly explain your answer. Okay? So I'm going to walk through this outline with you, and then hopefully you will have a better idea of what I'm expecting your outline to look like. And yes, you have to do the outline. That is your job today. That is your lesson for today. Okay? So the first thing that you'll see is it says a claim. What civilization did you pick in a complete sentence? Okay? Outlines do not typically have complete sentences, but because I want you to write your actual claim, this should be a complete sentence. So remember that for a claim, you need to restate the question and answer the question. Okay? So the question is, which civilization had the greatest influence on our modern society? So my claim says, of the 4 civilizations we learned about in Unit 2, Mesopotamia is the civilization that influenced the most in our modern society. Okay, so I clearly answered the question, and I restated what the question asked me. So anybody, like if your math teacher was reading this, if your science teacher was reading this, if Mr. Johnson was reading this, he would know exactly what your CER is going to be about. Now, I know they're going to talk about Mesopotamia, and they're going to talk about how it influenced us today. They clearly learned about it in Unit 2. Okay? You are more than welcome to steal my claim. Obviously, you would need to replace the civilization. But again, you are more than welcome to steal my claim or write your own. The next thing that you'll see is all together. So you have the evidence in green, the citation in red, and the reasoning in yellow. So the first piece of evidence, and you're going to pull the piece of evidence directly from the evidence collection note chart above the outline. Okay, you don't need to go looking for this information. This information is right there. So the first thing that the Mesopotamians contributed would have been the Phoenician alphabet. So that's my fact. They created the Phoenician alphabet. I added some additional information because a good CER would explain that evidence just as to explain what it is. So I would then continue in my CER to talk about how they invented it to keep track of trading, and it had 22 consonants but no vowels, and they spread their alphabet through sea trade. Okay, that's all part of your evidence. That's just facts about that particular piece of evidence. My citation, which would go right after these facts in my CER, okay, it says Meso notes. Yours will either say India notes or China notes. That's it. That's all I am looking for you to write. Now, reasoning, we may or may not have covered that as a class. So sometimes as the class talks through the information, we kind of get a little bit into the reasoning and put that up in our notes. But sometimes we just list the facts about the evidence and we don't really get into the reasoning. So you'll have to look at what your class talked about and decide, does that really fit in more of just a fact about what they did in ancient times? Or does that help me explain how we use it today? So, for example, the Phoenician alphabet, I said that it spread to Greece, who adopted it and changed it, and then it spread to Rome, and eventually the modern world. So that alphabet was adopted and changed by multiple civilizations, and then it reached this modern world where we have the alphabet we use today. I said it led to the creation of our modern alphabet and an alphabet based on sounds. Okay, so that means like each letter is a sound. That's the difference between that alphabet and some older alphabets that existed. Okay, and the last one I think is probably most clearly reasoning based. Is the basis of our written and verbal communication. So we have to use that alphabet to talk and write in 2020. Okay? So the reasoning, you may have to use your own brain. How do we use whatever you said as your evidence today? Why is it important? Does it help us do something else? Is it an early version of something we use today? Okay? If you are having trouble with the reasoning, then go to your friend Google and say, hey Google, how do we use the Chinese compass today? And then see what it comes up with. Don't be afraid to use your resources here, okay? So I pretty much just repeated that same expectation for evidence number 2, where I put the evidence is the idea of written law. I gave a little bit of information about what that looked like in ancient times. I gave my citation, and then I gave some reasoning, okay? Talking about having laws written down so people will know what they are and they can't just change them, and holding people to the law no matter how rich you are or where you're from or whatever. Same thing with the 12-month calendar. There's my fact, there's some information about my fact, my citation, and then my reasoning, why it helps us. The last thing you have is your conclusion. It's in blue. A conclusion should be very similar to your claim. It's going to kind of repeat what your claim said, but it's going to wrap up your thoughts. Again, you are welcome to steal my conclusion or write your own, okay? But my sentence says, in conclusion, comma, this evidence proves that Mesopotamia was the most influential civilization to the modern world. Now, everybody who's reading this would know you are done talking about it. You're not going to go on anymore, etc. Notice that the bulk of this is not in complete sentences. That is what you will do when you actually write your CER. When you type your CER in the assignment tomorrow, you will actually take this information and type it out into sentences. Okay? If you didn't put them in sentences, you would not get your grammar points. Right? An outline, though, should just tell you what am I going to write about. So now you know sentence 1 is my claim. Sentence 2 is my evidence, sentence 3 is my reasoning, etc. Okay? So, skim through my example again if you need to, and then work on your outline. Submit your notes so I can take a look at them, and maybe give you a little bit of feedback before class starts tomorrow so you have an idea of, hey, I did this right, or I need to fix this before I write a CER. Okay? If you have questions, comments, concerns, you're welcome to email me or message me. Just a reminder that they may not get answered until Wednesday morning. Okay? All right, miss you guys.